All right. Welcome back to another Tech Talk. I'm your host, Josh from KeepItTechie. And today, uh, I'm super excited. I got my man DeWan back in the building. He's been a friend of the channel. He's came on multiple times, shared the space with me, you know what I'm saying, and shared his time with me or whatever to come through and talk to try to help people get into the tech industry, which is why I do these whole live streams. So I'm excited to have him again. But first off, shout out to everybody in the chat. I see you guys going on, hit that like button. If you're new here, going on, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? I'm always bringing this type of tech content, as much as I can around my busy schedule. But what's up, Dewan? How you doing, man? How you doing?
What's good, Josh? What's good? Keep it second family. What's popping?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm excited to have you again, bro. I appreciate you coming through, man, for this. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is important. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like any of my guests I bring on. It's important to hear how different people, have navigated in this space and became successful. You know what I'm saying? And I want to just highlight what they've done as well as hopefully the information they put out can help you get in a situation similar to that in the future. So, first thing, let me go down and allow you to introduce yourself, man, for people that don't know you.
Hey, my name is DeWan Lightfoot. I am a tech professional, just like y'all. Working to help people advance their career. I've been doing this a little bit, over 10 years. I'm an Air Force veteran. Was a network engineer. I love network engineering. I love, like I mentioned, helping people get in tech. And yeah, thank you all for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's super important. I always say it like this, like um, with this industry, it's always good to help people coming behind you, especially you know, people that don't know much about, this information. And I always say you gotta pay it forward. If you became successful, it's not something you have to do, but it's a good thing to actually do to help people, and by paying it forward. Because a lot of us didn't know what we were doing when we was trying to navigate this space for real. I know
Yeah.
I didn't. I was just kind of fumbling along, you know what I'm saying? And it's good to have people out here sharing, you know, those
Yeah.
experiences to help people.
I
Yeah.
like to say the road that I traveled was nothing but rocks and gravel. You know what I'm talking about? So it's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so let me shout out a couple more people in there. I'm gonna get a little bit more into it. But I see Zone in the building. What's up, bro? How you doing? Tay, what's up, man? How you doing, bro? Casual economist. Yeah, we got a mentoring session this week coming up. So just I'm looking forward to that. Talking to you, try to help you get your career going. Professor Black Eyes, what's up, bro? Salute to you, man. And Sheik, what's up? How you doing? Um, Everybody. So appreciate all you guys for being here. Definitely appreciate it. Um, so the one, how did you get into the IT field, bro?
Yeah. I got an IT. I joined the Air Force, right? That's how I got my start. And this was back in the year 2000, around Y2K. So a long time ago, right? Um, started out on help desk, went to desk side support, got a system administration, did some networking administration. And then when I got out of the Air Force, I struggled to find a job, right? It took me about 6 months to find a job. And then finally, what I did, I was back on the help desk. And I did that for like 6 years, trying to figure out, okay, I got all this military experience. How can I advance my career? And I struggled like hell to advance. So, yeah, that's how I got started.
Cool. Yeah. So, did you have any, I don't know, like outside inspiration that pushed you that direction, or that's just something you fell into when you got into the Air Force? Period.
No, I think at the time, when I went into the Air Force, I didn't want to go into be a cop or anything like that. Nothing against cops or anything, but I wanted to have a skill that when I came out, I could apply it and kind of have a pretty good life, right? And
Hmm.
so me and my mom always was talking about you should get an IT, you should get an IT, get you a tech job. And I wasn't paying no attention, so I went in there and told the recruiter like, "Yo, I want to get in the computers." And so I took the ASVAB, I scored high enough, and then placed me as a computer operator.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 Yeah, cause I didn't score high enough to get in the in the tech field. To be honest, yo, man, yeah, I didn't score that high. You know what I'm saying? And they offered me, and then I joined the reserve, so it was depending on the positions that were available in the
Yeah,
location where I was going back to, which was home. You know what I'm saying? And most of the positions down there were like logistics, so that's how
yeah.
I ended up in logistics. But
Did you study? Did you study for the ASVAB?
nah, I actually didn't. I
Man, I
did
got like
pretty
3 books.
well. Oh, what'd you say?
I went to the library and got like 3 books, and actually studied for the thing
Okay.
because I wanted to make sure I got my recruiter kind of guided me to that. So shout out to my recruiter for doing that. But if you kind of prepare for it, you kind of know what to expect on the test. So I think you'll score better. So
Yeah, that's good advice. I wish I would have did that. They was see with the Air Force, man, like y'all they look out for their people. They always I don't know. It seemed like, y'all live better, y'all housing better, the dining facilities are better. With the Army, they just trying to get you in, bro.
yeah,
They
thank you a
don't
lot.
need. Yeah, they don't even care, man. They just going, hey, we want you to sign up, man. Take you down here and sign this contract. So they'll
Yeah.
hurry up and rush you through that process. But nah, that's good advice though. You should study for it if you can. If you decide to do that for anybody out there that's, interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did you have something else I sound like I kind of cut you off? Did you have anything?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no.
For
I
sure.
just think that the type of questions that they ask you, if you never took it, because some of the questions, like I think it's like ninth grade level or something. I'm not
Hmm.
sure, but either way, some of the questions weren't really taught that way in school. So if you don't know, like the mechanical question, if a wheel spin this way on this side, how will this wheel spin on this side? If you don't know those type of questions and how to answer them, I mean, it's gonna be kind of hard to do well. So I think getting a book that kind of guide you on what to expect for the ASVAB will help you do better.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. True. So after getting in the Air Force, and I'm gonna kind of breeze through a lot of your introductory questions because a lot of people have seen you around the space, and I kind of want to get to what you currently do. You know what I'm saying? But what educational, you know, background did you get? After joining the Air Force and actually getting into it, and I know the Air Force they pay for you know training and school and certifications and stuff like that. I was just curious as what other educational, things you may have gotten over the years to help you be
Yeah,
successful.
man, I made a lot of mistakes. Right in my
Mm,
20s, I I spent a lot of time kicking it. Right,
yeah,
um, and so when I got out of the military, I had my MGI bill. I used that to go to college, but I wasn't really focused on college. I was
yeah.
just going to school, trying to figure it out. Wasn't doing well because I wasn't putting in the time to study. And so I didn't get a degree. But finally, in one of the help desk job that I was in, they told me a requirement was to get the A plus.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the A plus, and that was back in like 2008. And that was actually my first certification of any kind. And then I think in 2009 they were switching from CompTIA certifications being lifetime to like every 3 years renewal, which is the way they are now.
Yeah.
And so I tried to cram to take the Network Plus and I failed it. It was like the last day before it actually switched over. And I thought I knew networking, but there was a lot of gaps in my knowledge. So I didn't do well. And so fast forward, another 4 years go by, and um, my wife, she was pregnant with my son, and I realized that it's time to grow up. You need more money. You
Yeah.
got responsibilities, and so I enrolled in the boot camp. And so in that boot camp, that's when I really got serious about getting certifications. I got like my Security Plus, my MTA, which is the Microsoft Technical Associates, my CCNA, and I got ITIL and something else. But either way, that kind of helped pave my way to say, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to be a network engineer. So that helped me get on that path.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, based on and this is before I get to what you currently do, but I want to ask, like, um, did did do you believe that those entry level certs that you got in the beginning actually helped you? Meaning like A plus, Net plus. Well, I know you say you got in the boot camp, but and basically what I'm trying to get to is some people talk about just skipping a lot of those entry level certs. Do you believe you those certs are still worth it? You know, like A plus and those entry level. And I know it depends on your skill set, but I always try to push, those entry level certs, especially because it'll help you down the line. Or no?
Well, I don't want to say they're not worth it, right?
Yeah.
I think they have value, but what I don't think is the right approach is to stack entry level search. I
Hmm.
think getting an entry level cert like A plus to figure out how basic computing works. There's nothing wrong with that. Network plus to figure out basic networking works. Nothing wrong with that. And some other entry level certs like security plus to figure out security. But after you get you know those three certs or something, at that point you need to figure out what you want to do and then go the highest level in that area, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's network engineering, whether it's in software development, wherever that area is, go the highest possible. Even if it's Linux, go on the Red Hat certifications, go all the way to the top so that way you can become an expert. And the higher you get, the less competition you have when you're applying for jobs.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just the way it works. You know what I mean? So rather than trying to have a broad range of knowledge, which is cool, but it's going to be more competition because everybody at that level has that level of knowledge. So find some way to advance your skill set and focus on that.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah, you should get to the point where you specialize. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But it was like some people like, oh, you should just, you know, that I've heard in the past. I know I'm throwing you for a loop because this is not, anything we discussed before. It's something we'll talk about. But I know, some people. I've seen people just push like, oh, just go get this AWS cert or go get this Azure cert, and not understanding the fundamentals of, computers in general, or at least some networking. Because I believe networking is across the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? At least understanding how computers talk to each other. Whether you're a developer, you need to understand how the application you building, and not in depth, but at least understand the process so you can write your code more efficiently so it can run better and talk to the back end on another server, to the front end, depending on whatever you're developing. Or I'm right? Or
Yeah, yeah. So that's a whole nother topic because when you talk about how applications are designed, that's something you
mm,
need to understand. Too. You may not go as deep as a network engineer goes into networking, but
yeah.
to understand the building blocks of how a business builds applications. Is it a monolith? Is it microservices? Is it serverless? Is it in Kubernetes, a Kubernetes cluster? Understanding like what these different pieces are, like that can be really helpful and beneficial no matter what you do.
Hmm.
And it's going to be unique to whatever business you get hired by, right? So again, once you get hired by that businesses, what are the applications that they're building? What are the applications you'll be supporting? So understanding those, understanding the like you said, the back end, the front end, the traffic that's going east west, like there's nothing wrong with that. That can help you and be more efficient. And so to kind of piggyback off of that, understand the tech business in general is important as well because that's a whole nother aspect that can help you be better in your job. Not just understanding the technical side, but the business side, right? Which part of the business makes money? Why is the network engineering limited and have to do more with less? Well, for one, they're not making the company money. So, you know what I mean? It's not going to have so much emphasis on hiring them and providing them resources. And you got to be able to speak and show the value that you add and the reason why you need those resources in your organization and to just improve yourself in general.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. And I hope you're not taking the questions. any kind of way. I'm just trying to pull information out of you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that's exactly what I'm trying. I'm trying to get you to go down that road. So,
You try
yeah,
to get me to go in the bag. Let's go.
yeah, yeah. So, um, now, um, I had never heard of this position until I saw you got it. You know what I'm saying? Until I saw you update your LinkedIn. And I was like, what is a developer advocate? So can you explain to the audience and people that's interested in tech, what is a cloud networking developer advocate, if you can?
General networking developer advocate in general is someone that specializes or has deep knowledge in a particular area. That could be in software development, that could be in network engineering, that could be in some particular area. And they also understand how to code. And so what your role does is you work with the community to talk about, okay, the community wants to know more about AWS and cloud networking. They want to understand how the services work. They want to understand how the services can be improved. They want feedback on these services. So you work with that side, but you also speak to the business side to say, okay, well, here's the Amazon VPC. How can we improve it? So you work with the service teams to say, well, this is what the community is saying about these services. Here's the features that they're looking for. Here's the problems that they're having. And then you take that back to the service team, but you also work with the service team to announce new services and new features to kind of be that bridge in between the two.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And from what I see, it's like a super dope position because you close to a lot of the emerging technologies. You know what I'm saying? That's coming out, and I mean, you probably see things before they actually released and all that. So that I don't know. It just seems like a super dope position, and that's why I wanted people to understand that it's positions out here like that or whatever that you can actually get into once you get further in your career. You know what I'm saying?
You're already doing a lot of that though. Like
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing, your channel, and for others that have a YouTube channel like Gabe, shout out to Gabe who just joined us. He's doing a lot of advocacy. You're advocating on the behalf of some product or some company. You're working with the community. You're speaking with the community to help educate, share knowledge, improve careers, and all of that. I mean, a lot of that is advocacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Um, and so, can you like talk about like the day in that actual role, like a day in the life in that role, like things that you do other than what you already explained?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is like reading and researching, right, to really understand what are the challenges network engineers and the businesses are facing when it comes to cloud networking.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be reading Reddit, Stack Overflow, blog posts, researching new releases around AWS. What are people saying about the different services? What are people saying on Twitter? What are people saying on LinkedIn? It's just a lot of reading and researching, and then it's setting up meetings to talk to people that are in the field, learning, doing cloud networking in their roles, talking to directors and CTOs about the challenges that they're facing, and then taking this feedback and bringing it back to the company and creating content.
Mm-hmm.
So, and meetings, you got to have a lot of meetings, but a lot of it is just like taking the information and then outputting content or taking it back to the service teams and vice versa.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's dope, man. And like you said, and that kind of sounds like what a lot of people are doing, really, just not at that level because they're not, obviously speaking with CEOs and all that stuff. But it's, the advocacy side of it, what you were saying earlier. Anyway, I'm kind of all over the place. But shout out to Gabe. Appreciate you coming through for dropping the super chat. I definitely appreciate it. And
Yeah.
if you guys got questions, you know what I'm saying, you could drop them there. I'm kind of pinning them, so I'll ask later on once we get to the question and answer section. So, now what are some of the most important skills? Because I mean, you talked about um, you know, basically being able to brief people or talk to supervisors and all that stuff. Like, what are some of the important skills you need to have? I'm sure soft skills, but
Yeah. Yeah. Soft skills, of course. Now, the way a developer advocate engages with the community is going to be different. Some are more writers, so they write blog posts, or they make create documentation or white papers or something around that area. That's the way they create their content. That's how they engage. Others may create video content or blog posts and do talks at speaking events. Like last year, I think I did like 11 speaking events. This year, I've already done 3, and I got like 4 more lined up. We just
Dope.
travel around the world, talk at these events, whether doing talks or you're doing some type of workshop, you're hosting that workshop, supporting a workshop. There's a bunch of different things you can do to engage with the community. And in between that, you're engaging with the community to talk about, hey, how's your day going? What challenges are you facing? How can I help?
Yeah, yeah. And I I see you. I see you on LinkedIn, Twitter, and all that stuff, man. You be you be traveling, you be doing these speaking engagements, and I don't know. I just find that super dope, man. Because that seemed like that's something that's heavily involved with the positions, just getting out there talking to people, which is something I like to do. I like to get around people, when I can, conferences and all that stuff, just to and that's where you meet people. That's where you find out about a lot of these new technologies. That's why I encourage people to go to those meetups and different you know um, speaking engagements and all that stuff. So
Yeah, you got to find out like what's good for you because, like, I'm more of an introvert, right? So sometimes going to those conferences, I got to get out my shell.
yeah,
Just being 100% honest. Um, Sometimes a smaller meetup, I actually prefer those because now you in this small group, people are really asking you really engaging questions, and you can learn and speak directly to them about the challenges that they're facing, the things that they're learning, the things that you're learning. So you got to find like where's your sweet spot. And we were kind of talking about the skills, and I don't think I really went in depth, but the outside of just the soft skills, it's understanding the technology because a lot of my role is going deeper into cloud networking and
hmm,
understanding the different services, but not just how the different services and how they function, but how do they interact? How can we build? What is hybrid connectivity? How do you connect a VPN to the cloud? How is DNS managed in the cloud? How is NAT handled? How do you span across regions? Understanding that, and then taking those what I'm learning and applying it to use cases that are actually being seen in the industry and maybe coming up with some solutions that aren't really presented before. And I'm
yeah,
doing that through cloud formation, Terraform, or something like Python or something.
okay, okay, yeah. And Tay, I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of like the next thing I was gonna ask the one, and it has to do with are there other types of developer, and I mean you are there other areas? Yeah, and I'm sure it's an obvious answer. You know what I'm saying? But are there other areas you could do developer advocacy in? And how do you get there as well?
So I'm sure if you go on LinkedIn, Indeed, or something, and you start searching for a developer advocate program, like job roles, it's one of the most booming job roles I would say that's kind of people don't know about because of how big the developer market is, not just now but in the future. So in order to reach developers, often you need someone that can communicate with developers on a level. And software developers don't always have time to do that. Solutions architects don't have always time to do that. So
Hmm.
having a developer advocate allows someone to specialize and focus on meeting developers where they are, to be able to speak their language and connect with them and help them lead to adoption for whatever service or company that the developer advocate works for.
Okay, okay. And also Gabe kind of touched on something I was gonna get to a little later, but I just go down asking now since we deep in developer advocacy. Oh, well, that role, but Gabe basically said in the midst of these tech layoffs, because yeah, I was definitely gonna bring up the tech layoffs. How have developer advocates been able to survive?
Uh, 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 you know what? I can't speak for the entire industry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that part I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because anything could happen. I could
Oh
go to
yeah.
work Monday, it's a wrap. Who knows? But at the end of the day, um, you just don't know. I'm not saying like one job is better than another. Like you don't know, so I really can't
Yeah,
speak to say how we've been able to survive because I can't speak for the whole industry. You know.
yeah, yeah, and I agree. I agree. Um, yeah, because I mean, any of us could get laid off with these things. You know what I'm saying? And it just all depends on the needs of the company. At the end of the day, they do all their budgeting. They see where they need to cut depending on what departments or it's excess money they can bring back into the fold. You know what I'm saying? And just let people go. So yeah,
I think the important thing to remember though is, or to keep in mind when we're talking about these layoffs, is to always keep your skills up to date and current and advancing. You know, the person you were last year shouldn't be the person that you're striving to be this year. You should always think, okay, what's the latest coding language? What's the hottest coding language? How does that align with my job role? You know, what companies are using this coding language or whatever technology and advancing. Maybe you're into management. Okay, take some classes to get into management. Or maybe you're trying to improve your public speaking. Join Toastmasters. You should always be trying to advance. And so if a layoff does happen, you're already prepared for it. Update your resume.
yeah, exactly. I agree. I 100% agree, man. That's something I always say. You got to keep skilling up. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep because in the midst of these layoffs and stuff, that's another thing that people tend to not look into as depth or is not highlighted as much. But a lot of these guys are getting into positions 3 months, after they laid out, after they're, because they some of them still on severance packages, getting new jobs because they got the
Yeah,
skills
yeah,
that are in demand.
yeah.
So, yeah,
And I mean, like I said, man, anything can happen. I don't think there's ever a time where I feel safe in a job.
oh
Like
yeah,
I just don't think like that, you know.
yeah. I feel you, bro. I'm the same way, man. Because I think I told you this, but I've been working a lot of contract positions, and so it's always been, like a fire lit on under my my butt or whatever, basically to stay on top of keeping skills up, because you never know with these government contracts. They could say, hey, we don't need this part of the contract no more, we gonna cut this, you know what I'm saying, and just keep it. And it's the same thing, in the public sector or the private sector, the other sectors or whatever. And you end up in a position, and then they go around and go through their budgeting, and hey, we need to cut these positions in. So it can happen, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, yeah, I agree though.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, um let me see, it was something. Oh, and that I was gonna get to this, dealing with because I know you go to a lot of like meetups, speaking engagements, and all that stuff. How important is it, to network and build relationships? In these types of roles, or in tech in general. It ain't got to be just that role. You know what I'm
I
talking about?
think it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like when I go back and forth about the networking thing, right? I do think it's important to have a strong network, but I think it's important to have a balance of not just your network, but also the skill set and how you treat people in general. I think it's more important how you treat people in general because people remember how you treat them. So just being a good person, right? Your network will grow as you meet people. But to make meeting people and networking your priority, if you don't have an end goal, like trying to start a business or you're trying to get somewhere, then you may be better spent, creating content and focusing on getting noticed. Because a lot of times it's not about, who you know, it's about who knows you,
Yeah,
right? So I think it's a healthy balance of just being a good person, making connections when you can, and putting yourself out there.
yeah, I agree. I agree. You definitely wanna you definitely want to treat people well, you know what I'm saying? And don't just you have to be strategic with it, you know what I'm saying, with the way you know add people to your network. Not 100%, but you have to be somewhat strategic, you know. That's
Man,
my thoughts. Hmm.
yeah. I've seen people go out and just connect with everybody on LinkedIn, but nobody knows that person. Like you can call them that person, the 20,000 people you connected with, and ask them for a favor or get somebody else an opportunity. So I don't connect with everybody. I've never been like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like to build genuine connections, especially on things like LinkedIn and other things, because I think that's more beneficial. Building those authentic, genuine connections to where um, people know that they can depend on me, I can depend on them, and we can build a relationship.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cause yeah, that well spoken. Let me say, yeah. Cause I've always kind of been like that too. Like it took me a while to even start, promoting on my LinkedIn is just putting content out. It took me a long time to even go over there because I always looked at that. I tried to keep that totally separate. Not that I was trying to hide, but I kept it separate because, you know, those relationships are like super important, especially like people I've worked with. You know what I'm saying? They actually know me. I've made
Yeah,
a real connection. It's not just
yeah.
like somebody I know they screen name off YouTube, or I know they screen name from here or there, Twitter or something like that. It's like a real connection. Like people I've actually vouched for. They vouched for me, depending on the positions we may have been in. Yeah, it took me a long time to actually start adding more and more people, but um, the connections I make is really just to help people, and then I regularly go through it and move remove people that it just added me just because it's almost like a clout thing over there now.
Hey man, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a strong believer that you have to protect your energy, right? And so if you're just trying to connect with people, you never know the type of energy you bring it into your life and into your circle. And you have to be cognizant of that. Like, and I don't think a lot of people, um, there's some people that miss that part, you know. And so I really try to protect my energy at all costs. And I think that's important.
Okay, okay, yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Now let me ask you this. So what are some common misconceptions of cloud networking? Because I want to go down to the way networking actually works in the cloud. Because I've asked people in the past, I don't understand it 100%. I know that
Yeah.
networking, it has to be set up in the cloud, in order for these computers to talk to each other.
Right.
Especially like with the hybrid, clouding, and people are having servers on different cloud platforms. Like, what are some of the misconceptions that people don't know about when it comes to cloud networking?
I
Or,
think
mhm,
just on the surface to assume that it's just like on premises and your traditional networking, like at the end of the day, the protocols are the protocols, right? But sometimes the way it operates in the cloud can be abstracted. Like you think of all the attributes that you can have in BGP. Well, that'll be kind of limited in the cloud, right? Another thing is when you think of the VPC and the subnet. Well, traditionally on premises, a subnet is a broadcast domain. Well,
yeah,
not so much in the cloud. That layer two doesn't exist, so you don't have those type of broadcasts and those challenges that you would have in the cloud. So, I think just understanding that going into the learning cloud networking with an open mind. Don't hold what you know to the traditional mindset that you have on premises. Um, Realize, okay, how is it really done with the cloud, and not assume that you understand it, because it could be a little different than what you're used to.
okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I've asked a couple of people that were like in networking, but they hadn't really dealt with the cloud, and I was like, man, let me ask the one that and see what his thoughts on it, because I know you work for Cisco, you've done a lot of networking, positions, and so I figured you would know, especially uh
Yeah.
being with AWS and stuff now. So
And I mean, it's to me is not as the challenges that you face like on premises, you don't really face on the cloud. Because if you think about layer one, that's plugging in a cable from your laptop or from your server to a switch, right? You don't have to do that in the cloud because the cloud provider takes care of that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that layer one is something you don't have to think about. You just have to think about layer one to your home router or the Wi-Fi or whatever your layer one connectivity is. And then your layer two, again, those broadcasts don't exist. You don't have to really worry about that. And then at layer three, when we talk about the IP addressing and the networking and layer four and up, that's the part where it starts to say, okay, well, we still can't have IP address overlap. We still got to understand that part.
Yeah.
Um, we still have to understand DNS. We still have to understand load balancing and NAT, IPv6. Those parts we still have to understand. We just have to know how they're applied in the cloud. What services? When you mentioned launching a virtual machine into, let's say, a VPC, well, that's one way to create a virtual machine, but there's some other ways to do the same thing. So, knowing how those building blocks, because the cloud isn't necessarily about understanding a particular service, it's building blocks to make an application work, right? To provide a particular application or a series of applications to your customers and to the business.
Okay. Okay. Now you don't have to answer this, but what's your favorite cloud platform? I'm messing with you, man. But nah, what's your favorite cloud
No, come on, man.
platform?
AWS, man. You know who I work for.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
funny.
yeah. I know. I'm just messing with. um, now, what are like? Can you share any of your biggest mistakes you've made throughout your career?
Man, I made a lot of mistakes. Are you talking technical or just in general?
Just in general.
Chasing money, man. That's always been my biggest mistake. Chasing the bag. I
Yeah.
think um, the bag is good, right? But I do think um, if you're gonna go after the bag, have an end goal in mind. Like what bills you trying to pay off, how much you trying to stack, because it's going to be trade-offs. Whether that's stress, whether that's less time with your family, whether it is, there's always a trade-off, no matter what you do. Sometimes that trade-off is going after less money to get the skills for that long-term gain, right? Or going after less money to have more time to be able to start your business or spend time with your family. So there's always a trade-off. But the one thing, like I mentioned, is chasing money. The second thing is not being selfish about the things I want to learn. Um, Looking back, one thing that I kind of regret, I don't want to say, I guess regret would be the word, is that when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't keep going for the CCIE. I look back and I should have kept on that journey. I was so like focused on helping people that honestly, I kind of forgot to help myself along the way.
Mm.
Right? I put a lot of time in investing in people, and I believe that was the right thing to do. But I do wish that I would have stayed on that journey. Not saying I can't go back and do it, but now the industry has changed. Going after the CCIE doesn't make as sense as it would have back then.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And since you brought up your channel, let me go down and pull it up for you guys that um don't know about DuAns Channel. So make sure you go check it out. It's basically DuAn Lightfoot. Uh, he's he has a lot of great information out there that still applies. You know what I'm saying? And he's putting up, content when he can, because I know he's super busy and everything. I'm gonna talk to him a little bit more on the back end and see if I can get him put up some more content. Nah, I'm just playing.
Nah,
But
I told you I'm coming back, man. We
yeah,
in the construction. We coming back though.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, but make sure you go subscribe to his channel. I've always promoted and supported his channel because I always looked at him, what he was doing is a good thing to help the community. So make sure you go subscribe, and his link will be down in the chat, and I'm also dropping in the description of the video. So for anybody that's watching this, on the replay.
Okay.
But yeah, um, let me see. It was something else. Now, what trends are you seeing? As far as um, just new tech in the cloud industry. You know what I'm saying, that people should look out for. People should start, um, putting their hands on so they could, keep up with the, I don't know what's going on or what's being introduced to the to tech.
Yeah, I think data science, to me, that's the most intriguing thing right now is data science. Um, because when you think of like chat GPT and generative AI and all of these tools that are out there, it's creating a lot of buzz, right? And
Yeah,
machine learning has been, companies have been finding ways to use it for a while. And so for me, that's like the most interesting and seems to be the area that probably will grow the most next to blockchain, because I still don't think we have figured out how to use blockchain in a way that's really going to be mass scale across
hmm
the entire world like that. But I think like those two areas, and so we kind of peel that back when we go into data science. We got AI, which is artificial intelligence, which are like um, self-driving cars and all of these things. You got things like Chat GPT. You have just putting together the data stores and the data structures that's going to be used for machine learning. People got to know how to do that.
yep,
Uh, and then building the architectures to be able to run these machine learning models. Like people got to know how to do that. There's like 4 or 5 positions just to create a data model that needs to be involved, right? And so I think there's a lot of opportunity that our people, Black folks,
yeah,
probably don't realize. And I would like to see us talk more about how we can get on this train and not be late to the,
to the
you know,
party.
to the party. Exactly.
hmm No, I agree. And data science is, I mean, a lot of those AIs are data driven. Well, pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
They're all data driven. And so that is an important area people need to look into. And that's why I wanted to ask that question. So for the people, that's looking, that money's gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be all over the tech space, but money is gonna be there as well for those skills. It's so you need to look into them.
Yeah, it ain't just the money though, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that the other part when we talk about us being late to the party is the businesses that we create. I think a lot of time we look for someone to like give us a seat at the table, but I think a mindset needs to okay, who wanna set the table, who wanna build the table so everybody can have a seat. Like okay, let's build our own table. Like
Mm-hmm.
these new tools, how can we use them to generate something to where it's going to have an impact and we could create our own. You get what I mean?
No, I agree. I agree. Um, yeah, that's something we really have to have a conversation about, and also people move on, not
Yeah.
just talk about, but move on. So, I agree with you that well I'm gonna definitely link up with you after this. You know what I'm saying? Nah, we we get something popping. Nah, I'm just playing,
Let's
but
go. Let's go.
nah, you're right though, man. It is important. Now it was one. Well, let's go on and hop over to the question and answer. I think I seen a couple more people. That's all I got for you. But I seen some other stuff that came through. I think that I wanted to ask. Let me see. I'm finding a building relationship. Help me get my name out there as long with a strong resume. Let's see. I've heard I shouldn't ignore anyone of the outreach from recruiters. Dewan just said to protect your energy, should you connect with every, hit that you, yeah, and you kind of covered that. If you want to touch on it again, you can. Should you connect with every hit that you get on LinkedIn if you want
That's
to?
up, I think that's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, what's the point of having connections? Is it to extend your reach? For some people, that is the game to extend your reach on LinkedIn, which is cool. But I like to create genuine connections, people that I could build relationships with. So if you're gonna connect with people, make sure you engage with those people. You know what I mean? But again, you got to protect your energy. And to everyone, that's gonna be a different level. I like to help people, and I pour my heart out and to people, right? And
Yeah.
then sometimes that can be really draining. And so that's what I mean by protecting my energy. And then everybody doesn't mean well when you connect with them. And that's something you got to keep in mind. It may sound good to want to help the world, but everybody can't be helped. And that's something I had to learn as well.
Nah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it took me time too to understand that because I went through a phase where I just want to help people. I mean, some people, you know, they act like they want the help, but they don't really want the help. You know what I'm saying? They just kind of wasting your time at the end of the day, and so
Facts.
you wasting your energy. You talking about energy, you know, pouring it into something. You wasting it as well by
Yeah.
even, you know. But yeah, I get
But
what
I
you mean.
mean, that's the thing. Like what we do as far as putting our content, some people just want to connect with somebody to have somebody um, that looks like them to talk to encourage them, to support. So I think that's important to be able to have that, right? Um, but there's ways to go about it that I would say is good for you, whether that's creating a PDF or ebook or having these live streams and having people come on and engage or having some type of webinar or having some type of meetup and then meeting people like that. Or if you want to do um, calendar invites and then having people come, okay, pick a meeting date and we can sit down and talk. But you got to do what's best for you. So,
Hmm. No, I agree. I agree. Um, some people just want service for free. Well, I say it like this: some people just want you to do the work for you,
yeah.
and I've ran into that situation,
Man,
and I'm like,
that,
go ahead, go ahead.
no, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Nah, this about you, man. Go ahead. I want to hear what you say.
Yo, some people do not understand how much work it actually takes, right? It's crazy that you know that you can put something out and make it look easy, or people think that it's easy, but they don't see the work or the years that went behind you to get to where you are and what you do. Like it really do take work. Like getting to 100,000 took me about 14 years to figure that out. You know what I mean? For some people, they may do it in a year because that works for them. But for you, it may take you 6 years or three
Hmm.
years. And you got to be able to put in the work to, okay, this isn't working for me. That's not working for me. All right. Maybe I do need a degree. Maybe I do need to go a little further in my knowledge and go deeper, right? Maybe I do need to go some meetups and make some connections. Like it takes work to kind of figure it out. It ain't just, okay, here's the blueprint, do this. That don't always work for everybody.
Yep, yep. And just to piggyback off what you said, I mean, that's why I try to bring all these different people on because everybody got a different way that they got into tech. You can put the one in the room with another, I don't know, network engineer or cloud network developer or something like that, and they've gotten to the tech field totally different from him. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Nobody gets into it the same way. It's not a blueprint. You know what I'm saying? It's just a general path that we all trying to follow, and you have to put in the work to, to get to where you're trying to go. You know, yeah. So I'm not seeing many more questions, so I'm gonna go down there and oh, go ahead.
Question from Antonio Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Antonio said, I'm a beginner in the tech world and I want to go towards the cloud security. What should I focus on the most to get started? I think if Gabe in the chat, he probably could answer that better um, when it comes to cloud security. I really can't answer that, but what I can answer is that understanding the fundamentals of security and understanding the fundamentals of cloud is probably the best start. So when we talk about securing the cloud, what does that look like? How do you secure the cloud? Well, the first thing you need is ensure you is secure. It's probably going to be your account. So understanding, okay, what is an AWS account or whatever cloud provider's account, and then understanding the networking and understanding the service applications and all of that. So what are the building blocks, and then provide security on top of those building blocks. So
Hmm.
getting started with the foundations of security and the cloud would be important.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I agree. Um, Now it was another one, and I'm sorry I miss your question, Wilton. He says, yeah, and I had it on like top chat. I had to switch it to um I don't know if you know, y'all know the filters they have on the chat. It won't show everybody's comment until you switch it, and by default it puts it on top chat. But I missed your question, Wilton. He says I need some help. I'm applying for a service that's endless job. Any tips? Um, I mean, what's your thoughts? The one I like. I'm gonna just tell you to
Question.
schedule a mentorship with me, you know, and I walk you through some of my tips as well. But go ahead, the one if you.
No, you go ahead. You started off, man. Go ahead.
Okay,
You got
okay.
it.
Well, yeah. So, um, as long as you got the skills, man, and you go through, make sure make sure you practice interviewing. That's one of the tips I can give you, because well, and I'm doing that based on my experience. I've always had issues with interviewing, so just make sure you do mock interviews and try to build upon your interview skills. And but I mean, I don't know you, so you may be good with it, you know what I'm saying? I'm just giving you that tip in case that's, but it is still important to do those mock interviews and just make sure you but yeah, you can schedule a mentor session. I go through a lot of this stuff with you. Um, you know, with the link, I got the link on my channel. It's somewhere. I'll post it again. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, for Wilton and Antonio, let's work backwards from the jobs that y'all want, right? When I talk to people about getting jobs in tech, especially if it's something that they're new in, the first thing you need to understand is what is the job you're applying for? What are the requirements? What does the day-to-day look like? So the best way that I think to do that is to find, let's say 10 jobs. Let's say 10 service desk jobs or 10 cloud security jobs. And then look at those jobs to find out what are the qualifications they're looking for.
Yeah.
What are the skill sets? What does the day to day look like? So that tells you what you'll be doing. And then what you'll find is the commonalities of those roles. Okay, well, this job requires this certification, whether it's the AWS cloud practitioner or the solutions architect certification. It requires you to understand cloud security, and it'll kind of break those down to say what pieces of cloud security. And they may want you to learn some Python. So those are like three things that you'll know that if you get these three things, chances are when you apply for these jobs, you'll be more, how would I say, you'll be more prone to be one to receive an interview because you have these qualifications and these primary preferred qualifications that they're looking for. So find 10 jobs that for companies that you want to work for, jobs that you're interested in, and then work backwards from there to see what skills you need, get those skills, find ways to put them on your resume, whether it's volunteering or whether it's doing contracts or some type of way through certification to put those on your resume. And then also, next thing after you get the skills, network with people that have those job titles that you're looking for and set up meetings with them to talk about what their day-to-day looks like, ask them if their companies are hiring, to build that network and build an understanding of what to expect when you're in this job role, and also to help you prepare for an interview. This is how you can work backwards to get that job.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. I've said that as well. Like, yeah, just overall work back from the position. It's like reverse engineering or whatever you want to call it, back to that position. Make sure you get those skills that you need in order to get to them. You know what I'm saying? So, the one right on point with that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and also, I put the link to my little booking page or whatever. So if you guys interested, I do like 30-minute sessions for free, and this is all around my job. Whenever I have time, um, I'll let you know if I can't make it, or if it's something that comes up. But yeah, around my time, you know, I talk to you for 30 minutes or whatever, just to answer your questions, walk you through, and try to help you and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. There's one more question from Xavier Black. He says, "What up, guys? DuAns, first off, you the man. Shout out to you, family." He says, "Second, what is the best way for a 1 year cyber engineer to practice and get experience with AWS migration?" I'm gonna put a link in the chat to a couple things. The first thing is going to be AWS workshops. So whatever you want to learn, there's workshops available. Now, granted, Um, the thing about these workshops is you'll have to create an AWS account, but there's a lot of info here or a lot of options to use the free tier. So check out the AWS free tier and make sure the services that you'll be using be on the free tier. The second thing is when you go through the workshop and you're done with the workshop, delete all your services. So that way you're not being charged or being billed for anything. The next thing is going to be AWS well architected labs. And so what you can do from here is find things that are in line or labs that are in line with the things that you want to learn. So I'm sure Xavier, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it here. So I'll put this in the chat as well. Give me one moment. Give me one moment and I'll put this in the chat and then we can go. So this is going to be the AWS well architected labs. I think it's over 100 labs here that is around building on AWS. So those are like the two things. And the next thing I'll put in there is going to be the AWS free tier, because this is important whenever you're using AWS. A lot of people think you need labs and you need to pay for the different services. Well, there's a lot of services that are going to fall under the free tier. And so these will be listed here, and you can actually see these in your account as well to see which will be billed for particular services. So check that out. And then the last thing is going to be the AWS Skill Builder. Skill Builder has a bunch of free content to help you learn, and it has labs. So check this out, and that should help you with your journey. And the cool thing about Skill Builder is if you do something like Cloud Quest, which is like an interactive learning environment that walks you through labs preparing for like the cloud practitioner or whatever specialty AWS certification, it'll provide you a development environment or in the AWS management console. So you don't have to worry about using your own account. It'll have everything you need to complete the labs. So check out Skill Builder. And I think Sam has a Skill Builder account. So check that out as well. So my bad, Josh.
Nah, you good. That's great information, and that's one thing I forgot to do as like questions. Hey, if somebody's trying to, you know, get into these lower end, not lower end, but in these entry level positions, like what resources do you recommend? That's typically one of my questions. I totally forgot about that. So I'm glad you dove into it, bro. You know what I'm saying? So great information, great information. Hopefully that helps you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, yo, and you right here, you with AWS, you know what I'm saying? So I totally should have asked that question. I was like, yeah, I mean, you the number one resource that at least that I know that can put out the right information. You know what I'm saying for people. So yeah,
Oh, good. I got a couple of blogs around it too. So
okay,
feel free to check those out. And when it comes to the cloud, I think for those of you that are getting started in tech, whether it's any field, I think this is the best time to get in because there's a ton of free information and resources to help you get to where you want to go. Now, it can be information overload. So when it comes to learning the cloud, one thing I do want to say is, and coding as well is when you go through the different video trainings, the different books that you're reading, great. Don't overthink it. Start to build something. Find something you want to develop. Find something you want to build in the cloud and build that because that's where you'll learn the most. Going through the tutorials is awesome, but those are like guardrails and training wheels. You're safe. Get outside of your comfort zone to where you got to start Googling, going to Stack Overflow. You're banging your head against the wall trying to figure things out. That's when you're going to really learn and grow your skills.
yep. And for anybody that's been around my channel for a while, I always quote the one lab every day. Make sure you guys get in there and practice your skills, not just read it. Go and practice it. You know what I'm saying? Set up a virtual machine, set up your AWS account, and go up there and set up, you know, systems, and just make sure you don't leave them up like the one said and get charged, because them they gonna come after their money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Coming out the
saying?
services. But
Yeah.
again, there's platforms out there. I think I don't think it's called. Is it called A Cloud Guru? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
A Cloud Guru, Skill Builder. There's other platforms out there that give you cloud training, but they also give you environments to where you can access the AWS management console without having to worry about using your own account and being billed for services.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those are like, I don't know, $30 a month or something, if you can afford that. But if you can't, there's still free things out there. Like Skill Builder has the Cloud Practitioner Cloud Quest, which I think is pretty cool. You can go through that, get trained and prepare for your cloud practitioner certification, and then you can do all that for free and then get your certification.
Cool, cool. Yeah, man, that's great information, man. So I'm gonna go it on and end it. Shout out to Big Pontiac. I see you in the building, man. What's up, bro? But I definitely appreciate you coming through again, bro. This was an awesome conversation. I wish I would have I hadn't forgot to ask those questions, because I didn't write those down at all. I don't know what I was thinking, and then I mean, I think I had talked to you, and I was still working through all that stuff, that night I was talking to you. But um, man, I appreciate you coming through and dropping all these gems and knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And any last words?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, bro. This is always a good conversation. I really do appreciate it. Shout out to all of you that are on your journey, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's in networking, whether it's in cybersecurity, or whether it's in Linux. Remember that you can do hard things, you can do all things if you just put your mind to it, take it one day at a time, and lab every day.
Yep. Appreciate it. And appreciate all you guys. Again, I see someone just came through with a super chat. Definitely appreciate you, Xavier Black. It'll go right back into the channel anytime people donate. But no, I appreciate all you guys again, and thanks again, DuAns. Stay on for a second while I run this outro. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and of course, keep it techie.
Peace.